I've had an idea for a while to see if I could make email support easy to build, because I think it's a really powerful area for in the world of AI for people that can easily automate this kind of stuff, and it could be a big opportunity. And I also want to show off some of the things that the Cloudflare platform can do. So I'm going to use durable objects, which are still a little mystic to a lot of people. And I'm also going to show off how you can handle email in an automated fashion with a Cloudflare worker. So what I built is a simple support system that supports both email communication as well as live chat, as well as human in the loop. And I'll demo all of those in a minute. For anyone not familiar with durable objects, they are like infinite mini servers that you can spin up on demand in your code so that they can be dynamically created. Um, they're implemented by a JavaScript class. And the important thing about them is they have durable storage. So you can send messages to your durable object. You can store state in them, and then they'll be evicted from memory when they're not busy doing something. And then when you invoke them again, that storage will be there. You can effectively rehydrate it. And it's a really elegant way to implement things in your domain. And I'll show you how we can do that with a support case. So what I have is an email. I've set up an EA worker on Cloudflare that's going to ingest this email. And I'll show how that setup looks in a minute. If I send it off, so I'm just going to ask it, what are Cloudflare workers? So this AI is going to be, it's only meant to handle Cloudflare support, so pretty topical. I will send it off. And what's happening in the background is you can configure a worker, which is compute on Cloudflare, to ingest email. It's a lot easier than you might find on other platforms. I don't need any other infrastructure other than a worker. And as you can see, quite timely, the AI has responded. So if you open it up, you can see that it says Cloudflare Workers are a serverless platform, and it's basically explained what Cloudflare Workers are. Super simple, very easy to do. You can do that honestly in a few lines of code. But to really show off durable objects, and this is already using a durable object to handle our support case. So if I want to, I could reply and say limits, and you'll have it. The durable object is maintaining this the state of the conversation. So it's all of the messages from both me and the AI are recorded so that every time it's going to the AI model, it's including the conversation history. And in a minute, the AI will respond. Actually, pretty quick. And it's then given the limits. I'm not saying these answers are right. All it's doing is directly prompting a model. There's no RAG or anything. And each time, you'll notice, you can continue the conversation in chat. So we click this. It's opened up a little simple interface, and the entire history is here of what's happened so far for this support case. Because you can imagine a world where if you're on the move, you might want to send an email in, forget about it, email works for you. Let's say you want to speed up that process. Let's say you're debugging something and you want to really get into it quickly. The chat's going to be a much quicker and easier way to do that than sending emails back and forth. So I can send another question. So objects in one sentence. I'm putting in one sentence just so it's relatively quick and keeps the answer small rather than huge questions. And you can see this has come back from the AI. And it's now a completely different medium, right? This is a chat, but it's still stored within a durable object. And when I look at the code, it'll probably make a bit more sense of how this fits together. And the other cool thing is, quite often in support, let's say I ask a really tough question that the AI doesn't have an answer to. Maybe it's really gnarly. Maybe it's a bug in a new package. Maybe you want to inject a human in the loop. So at the moment, this is between me and an AI. But if I take the chat, make another window, and just put a role equals admin. So this, you can imagine that, in a real scenario, the AI has received it and it's decided it can't handle it. So it's then asked for a human. We've skipped that a little bit, but the admin is now joined and has access to the history. And what will happen is the chat will be synchronized between these two windows now. So let's say the end user asked a really tough question. has been sent immediately to this chat, and this is going over the network. This is not local, and the AI hasn't responded in this case because it now knows that an admin is in the chat. The admin is handling the chat. So if the admin writes a really good response to the student's question and sends it back, it's got a different color just to signify it. And you'll notice that's gone immediately into the user's chat too. So this is a real chat between two humans, if you like. And let's say that the question is answered. So the AI says, so the admin says, time to go, bye. And they close the chat. The user's left back on the screen. And if they wanted to, obviously you need some signposting, they can still ask questions of the UI, of the AI. So maybe you'd say, do you connect a worker to a object in one sentence? And what's happened now is because the admin is disconnected, the AI has picked it back up again. And again, I'm not saying that's right. It actually looks quite wrong. And that's the demo in a nutshell. That's how you can do very simple support queries, but handling a lot of use cases. And this honestly was built in a few hours. It didn't take very long. I'll talk you through the code. Some other nice things you can do with durable objects is they have alarms. So commonly for support cases, you might want to send an email 24 hours after the last message. You can use alarms for that. So that almost like a scheduled job, the durable object, and the durable object is specific to this case. So this is the ID for the case. So if you went on and created one, and you actually can, if you want to try, you can. I'll drop the email in the post. You'll get your own case, and all the messages are specific to that durable object. So each one can have its own alarm that then sends its own email after 24 hours. To show how easy this was to create, hop across into my editor. Just to explain for anyone not familiar with Cloudflare, I'll talk through the files very briefly. The first one being the wrangler.json, which if you've used Cloudflare for a while, you might be used to seeing TOML, but the latest version of the create Cloudflare command uses JSON. And if anyone's not familiar, when you want to connect your worker to resources such as databases, caches, in our case, AI or durable objects, those are done using bindings. And those are effectively injected at runtime. You don't need to configure anything outside of this JSON file. Cloudflare will inject effectively a client object at runtime, and you could just call whichever methods that client supports. So cache might support put, delete, so on. And the AI one, you'll see in a minute, supports running AI models. We have some other bindings. So we have a rate limiter that I've used that I'll show you in a minute. And it's an unsafe because it's in beta, so it will migrate to being a full binding. And then we're also serving some static assets from a worker, which is relatively new. And that just serves the UI for the chat, which is just in here, which I'm not going to go through because it's very simple. A bit of HTML, a bit of JavaScript, a bit of CSS. If we now hop over to the worker, so things get a bit more interesting. So in order to handle email, we need a simple function that's exported from our worker. And it receives the email message and the environment. And the environment is where the bindings are. So this is how you access your databases, your durable objects. You just call things on the environment, which you'll see in a minute. And the message is, yeah, just the email, which contains things like the to, the from, the size of the email, and obviously the body. There's a little bit of handling at the top that I don't need to go through. That's just rejecting large emails, just in case someone's a really huge one that I don't want to handle. And there's a rate limiter to make sure that it's basically not spammed. So I think it allows 5 every 60 seconds. And this rate limit just comes for free, doesn't cost anything. Super simple to use. I'm not going to go line by line because I think it'll take too long, but effectively we kind of extract some information from the email, so the body, and extracting the latest reply to move out kind of the quoted reply, if you like. Now, when calling a durable object, you can't, when you pass information to it, you need to pass something that is serializable. So strings, numbers, objects. Effectively, I think it's anything that can be cloned in JavaScript. So we can't pass the message that comes into the function. We have to make our own one. And then what happens is to track the case, we basically, if the email is sent to support, we know that's a new case. So we need to make a new ID. Else we just extract the case from the kind of everything before the at, and then that pulls the case ID. And then this is when we get into the environment. So to create a durable object, there's multiple ways to do it, but ID from name effectively allows you to pass a string that you need to consistently pass every time to retrieve that durable object. And this will always return you, given the same string, will always return you the same ID. And then once you have the ID, you can receive what's called the stub. And this will look like a JavaScript class. So I'll work here quickly. You'll see that it's a JavaScript class. But this is actually it's not instantiating the class in a traditional sense, because what it's going to happen is when you call methods on it, so in this case, we're calling handle email message and passing in the serializable message and the case ID, it's actually making an RPC call, so a network call to your durable object. So that's just something to be aware of. And if we hop over to the durable object, because that's where all the magic happens, this is very, very simple for handling the email. We effectively generate a reply. So I quickly hop to generate a reply. This effectively retrieves the support history because we want to send that to the AI in the prompt. We wrote a very simple prompt. There's nothing complicated in here. It could be a lot better. I've just done it very quickly. And if I was doing this for real, we're just prompting kind of a base model. I would do some RAG using something like vectorize, ingest the LLMs.txt from Cloudflare, which has all their documentation on. And that will make the response a lot better. For now, I'm just calling llama 3.1 and just saying, give me something, because I don't really care about how good the responses are. And then that returns the response. If we go back to the handling message, once it's generated a reply, it makes sure to insert that in the message history. So as I said, durable objects come with their own storage. They have two types. One is a simple kind of key value store that's been around for a long time. And a new one is that they have a SQLite storage embedded in them. So each time a new durable object is instantiated, we create a table for support history, and then we can insert stuff into it, which is really cool. And then finally, we send the reply, which I'm not going to look at, but it's just sending an email with mailgun, so it's nothing complicated. Now, when it gets to handling the chat, because that's everything that's needed for the email, things are a little bit different. So this is handled by the fetch method. So whenever the API is called from the front end, which is called from the HTML, we effectively have the case ID in the query string parameters, and we have the exact same code to get get the durable object for that case. And then we basically want to establish a WebSocket connection, because durable objects have WebSockets built into them to enable real-time communication. You can also build games with them, whatever you want to do with WebSockets, but they just come with it built in, and that's what you saw in the demo, was everything going via WebSockets. There was no polling or anything. And what happens is it basically calls the fetch method function on the durable object and sends in the request. Go across. I'll correct myself. It was a method. You have the fetch method. And this is just establishing a WebSocket connection, and everything is baked into the durable object. So you don't have to do this yourself. You basically just make a key value pair. Oh, well, not really a key value pair. Client and server WebSocket. So WebSocket pair. And then on the server side, you accept the WebSocket. And then you can attach some tags to it. So in this case, I'm attaching the role. So if an admin connects, and you'll see that down here, if there's a WebSocket that is connected and it's the admin, it decides whether to use the AI or use the AI based on these tags. So you can add multiple tags and then filter the WebSockets. And then once someone connects, we just send all the messages from the support history to the UI. You could server-side render this and save, saying the WebSockets, but for the demo, it's much easier just to send them all. And then once the client is connected, on the client side, it's very not familiar with WebSockets. You basically just create the WebSocket, and then whenever a message is received, you basically get a payload and you can do something with it. In this case, we just get a message and we just pop it in the UI. It's nothing crazy. And on the client side, everything is kind of done for you. So with this exact WebSocket is done for you by Cloudflare. And what you might be thinking is, isn't this going to cost a lot of money? This durable object is going to be running all the time. And actually, even though I've got that chat open in my browser, it's just saying here, this isn't costing me any money because the durable object is not currently active. And that's because Cloudflare will automatically hibernate durable objects for WebSockets between messages. So when a message is sent, the durable object will wake up, it will handle the message, and then it will go back to sleep until another message comes through, and you're only paying for the time that it's running. So it's very cost efficient. Once we're connected, you effectively define a WebSocket message function on your durable object, and this is automatically called for you by Cloudflare whenever your durable object receives a message to the WebSocket. We basically just parse the JSON sent in the message, and then we decide how to handle it based on if there is WebSockets where an admin is tagged, so there's an admin connected. We handle the AI chat message, which is just down here. And all this does is it sends the user its message back, which is a very inefficient way to do this. But this basically just puts the message that the user has just typed in on their screen. It just sends the message and sends it back to them. It's very wasteful, but it's just easier than me playing around with the front end. And then if we want the AI to generate a message, I feel like all these two are around. But anyway, this is for handling an AI chat. It generates a reply, which is exactly the same as you saw on the email. It inserts the message history, so the user message and the AI's response. And then because there's only one person connected, that's the user, there's the user and the AI, it just sends that the AI's response via the WebSocket, just sends a message and that'll get populated on the screen. If I go back to the logic, that was handling the AI chat, so when there's no admins connected. And if there is an admin connected, it's even simpler because we just insert that message into the support history. We can then retrieve all the WebSockets that are active on this durable object. And in this case, you just saw at most two. But, if you imagine something like Discord, you might have hundreds of people connected. You might have hundreds of WebSockets. It will handle that too. And you just loop over each and every WebSocket and basically send the message, almost like a broadcast, if you like, and now send it to the client. I think that's pretty much everything. I'm just going to search through. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. As you can see, it's not even 200 lines of code, and it's doing a lot. 200 lines of code in the durable object. I think the worker is maybe less than 100. Yeah. So what? Less than 300 lines of code, and you're able to handle emails. You've got AI in here. You've got persistence. You've got live chat with WebSockets. Rate limiting. There's just an insane amount in here for such a small amount of code, and it's so incredibly simple to use. And you can even just serve your front end from your worker as well. I think that's everything I want to show. Hopefully you found it interesting. There's links to the GitHub repository if you want to take a look. And if you want to try it, the email address will also be included in the post. So let me know what you think. If you have any questions, fire them at me. Until next time.